Hey y'all, it's Katie and welcome back to my channel. Today is the second episode in our series on how to get ready for race day, and this week we're talking all about tapering for your race. Let's go. So first off, what is a taper? This typically takes place the week before your race, and it is a dedicated week focused on strategic recovery and rest leading up to your race so that your body is primed and ready when race day comes. So there's a couple things to consider before we jump into the meat of the topic today. Specifically 4 factors that affect how you will choose to taper. First is the length of the race, second is the intensity of the race, third is if you're racing multiple races on one weekend, and then fourth is going to be how your body specifically reacts to a taper and what your preferences are. So obviously, the more races you have in one weekend, or the more intensity or the longer duration that the race is, the more you will have to taper into this week. So the more rest and recovery you're gonna wanna prioritize throughout that taper week. And one big thing to keep in mind here is that new equals fatigue. So you don't want to try any new lifting things, new cardio things, new dietary things the week of your taper, because that could lead to some adverse effects in the fatigue department or in the stomach upset department. And you don't want either one of those on race day. So the biggest thing to keep in mind when you're planning your taper is to know that you're not going to gain any fitness this 1 week before race day. This is not the time to make big moves, to do big lifts, or make big strides in your training right before a race like this, because that's ultimately gonna hinder you come race day. All the work that you did prior in the last 6, 8, 12 weeks leading up to the race is what is going to affect your race outcome, not the immediate week before the race. Oh, hi, Stuckle. So it's not going to affect your progress or your race outcome negatively if you do a taper week. It's actually going to help you. And here's why. So diving into the meat of our taper, we're gonna talk about 3 aspects of our taper: lifting, cardio, and fuel. So in the lifting department, there are a bunch of varied opinions on what your taper should look like here. And honestly, this depends a lot on preference, what you're adapted to specifically, and how your lifting history is. So if you're an experienced lifter, been lifting for years and years, you might be able to withstand a little bit more than if you're a beginner. And some people just in general do not want to lift, do heavy compounds or anything that week of the race because they just don't want to. And that's totally fine. But if you are comfortable lifting during race week, here's what I recommend. If it's an easier race weekend, shorter duration, easier intensity, whatever that is, then I'd say it's okay to lift the entire week up until the last 48, 72 hours. Then you start reducing in volume and intensity of the lifts, just so that your muscles aren't gonna be super fatigued in the 48 hours before the race. If it's a bigger race weekend for you, multiple races, longer duration, higher intensity, then we wanna start tapering this a little bit sooner into the week. You can lift like normal 5 or sometimes even 4 days out if you tolerate it well, but definitely start reducing volume at the 96 to 72 hour mark before the race so that you can make sure that you don't accumulate any undue fatigue before race day. I do recommend doing a light and easy lifting session between the 72 and 48 hour mark, just because this is a good primer for your muscles. This is a great chance to practice some race specific moves that you're gonna encounter over the weekend. Just make sure that you're not doing it at the full either race pace, race weight, or the reps. So just do 1 to 2 easy sets of those race movements just to remind your body what it's about to do. And I'd say it's even okay to throw a few compound lifts in there too if you want to, as long as it's reduced volume as well. We want to keep that just to 1 or 2 quick and easy sets. Definitely reduce the volume. I'd say around 40 to 60% of your RM, because you don't want to definitely load that bar up too heavy before the race like that. But sometimes it's really nice to have that extra mini lift session before your race, just so that you can kind of remind your body what's going on and get it ready for the day ahead, just as long as you don't overdo it. And on to the second area, cardio and conditioning. So this is not the week to do super intense HIIT training, okay? No super crazies, thank you. If you have an easy race weekend ahead, you can probably get away with doing some higher intensity work for maybe 5 days out, but I just wouldn't push it. This is a great time to work on some threshold work, a little further out, maybe 3-4 days out, and some easier zone 2 work as well, especially leading up to the race day. And I'd say it's even okay to throw in a few race pace intervals, whether that's on the ergs or running, just so you can kind of get your stride and your paces going a little bit before race day. Again, just as long as you don't overdo things. You don't want to do insanely long intervals or anything like that at race pace. That's not what I'm saying to do, but just a little snippet of what your race pace will be so you can be primed and ready for that would come race day. And as far as zone 2 goes, the only thing that I'd watch here is to make sure that you're not sticking on one machine for the entire session. You don't want to completely fatigue one specific machine or muscle group by sitting on the row for an hour long, the day before a race. That would be kind of dumb. So make sure you're rotating between machines so you're not fatiguing any one erg, machine, or muscle group. My favorite circuit to do before a race is to do 5 minutes rotating between the row, ski, and the bike so that you can kind of catch a little stride of each, but you're keeping it at zone 2 and you're able to maintain that zone 2 for 2-3 rounds. I find that that's a really good primer before race day, so I like to do that one usually 2 days out from the race day. Just depends on the race and the intensity and whatnot. But try that out before your next race or sim and let me know how it goes in the comments. The third area here is fuel. So just a little disclaimer, I am not a nutrition professional or anything along those lines, so these are just generic recommendations. If you want specific ideas of what that would look like, you definitely need to seek out a nutritionist or somebody who can help you with race day fueling. But here's the basic recommendations. First off, the week leading into your race, you want to focus on high quality and nutritious foods for fueling. So that means you want to avoid alcohol, avoid a lot of greasy foods, fast foods, and generally things that don't sit well in your stomach. And one of the most important things before the race is to hydrate well during your race week. And yeah, I know it's not food, but make sure you're sleeping well during that race week as well, because that sleep will help recovery and help you be primed for race day too. And the longer the event is, the more important it is to carb load the day before so that you'll be ready and have the stores available and ready to go during your race. On some of these ultra endurance marathons and things, you might even want to start carb loading up to 2 days in advance because some of those races can really deplete your energy stores. And your nutrition schedule is going to be timed around your race. So think about that race time and then back up your clock to match the schedule. So 4 to 6 hours before the race, you want to make sure that you're getting a full meal, prioritizing carbs and protein, and drinking at least 16 to 24 fluid ounces of water, probably more than that if you're a heavy sweater. Heavy sweater, not like a fall sweater, you know what I mean. And then 30 to 60 minutes before your race time, you want to prioritize some pre-workout that has an easily digestible carb and protein in it as well. And in that 60-minute time frame before your race, you want to make sure that you have some electrolytes and some glucose too. Then during your race, if it's shorter than 60 minutes, it's kind of as you want to. If you want to stop for water, if you want to stop for some carbs or pack some gels on you during your race, that's totally up to you, but you don't necessarily need it if it's less than 60 minutes, unless you have some other health condition that needs it. But in general, if the race is over 60 minutes long, you'll want to have 30 to 60 grams of carbs per hour to stave off fatigue. And you'll also want to be drinking at least 3 to 8 ounces of water per hour as well to help you rehydrate throughout the race. And you can also throw in some electrolytes in there too, especially again, if you're a heavy sweater. Then after the race, within 30 minutes of your race finish, you want to make sure that you have 1 gram per kilogram of body weight of carbs and then 0.5 grams per kilogram of body weight of protein. So for an example, I am 75 kilograms heavy, which means that I'd want 75 grams of carbs and 38 grams of protein. Don't check my math. You're not here for math, but you get the idea. And of course, after the race, you want to be drinking water too, so make sure you're rehydrating well after the race. And then within 2 hours of your finish time, you want to make sure you have a good meal, prioritizing high carbs, and then having at least 20 to 40 grams of protein in the meal with 16 to 24 fluid ounces. So all of these recommendations can flex based on you, what works with your body, and maybe if you are a bigger individual, heavier individual, you might need a little bit more on the protein and the carb side. If you're a smaller individual, those numbers might be a little bit less. If you sweat a lot, if you're a heavy sweater, then you might need a little bit more water, more electrolytes to replace the fluid loss from the race. So it just depends on you and what works best for you, but these are just generic guidelines that you can follow. But if it's an easy race weekend for you, then don't overthink it. You'll want to prioritize carbs, protein, nutritious meals, and hydration, and you should be fine. And there you go, that's all you need to know about your taper week. But I've also got 3 more resources that can help you prep for race day. First off is my freebie, the Ultimate Race Day Packing List, so you'll never forget an essential again. Number 2 is my ebook, Race Day Ready, where we dive into race strategy, data tracking, and how to plan your race day. And number 3, if you're ready to level up your training program, I have a program called Hybrid Strength that can help you prepare for your next race or adventure. So let me know how your taper went. In the comments, let me know what worked, what didn't, and how your race went. And if you learned something, hit that subscribe down below. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!